At the beginning of season 1999-2000, the bookies, in their infinite wisdom, had St Mirren as 20-1 outsiders to win the First Division title and second favourites for relegation. It was manager Tom Henry's first full season in charge, and here, amongst the Love Street faithful, no one was quite sure what the next 8 months was going to bring. But as it turned out, it was a season to remember. Having managed Berwick Rangers and Alloa Athletic and gained promotion with both clubs, the manager may privately have had an agenda of repeating history. But what made him take over the reins at Love Street in the first place?
Well, to be honest, I've been told by many people this was a big club, a club that was a sleeping giant, and what we needed was perhaps just somebody to point them in the direction and get the young players playing. I felt it was a big challenge. It was the first full-time appointment for myself, and I was looking forward to it.
Appointing a part-time manager in his first full-time post, did Chairman Stuart Gilmer think this was perhaps a risk?
I didn't, and neither did George or Brian, who we had both interviewed him, or three of us interviewed him. I think if you had interviewed Tom Henry, you wouldn't have had doubts either. He's a very charismatic person. It wasn't so much an interview as a very informal chat of what he thought about Scottish football, about where Scottish football was going, and about where smaller clubs could go, how he would go about that. And the man just impressed on us so clearly that he was the man for the job. I have said that it was not rocket science. If anyone else had interviewed him, I'm quite sure they'd have come up with the same decision.
He'd been at Berwick, he'd been at Alloa, he'd taken them up in his first full season in charge. Were you expecting great things from him last season?
No, to be fair. We told him very clearly the tools he had to work with. He knew the financial constraints the club was working within, and we really looked at a 2 to 3 year plan. To get things moving so quickly is just total credit to the man himself. With very similar people, he brought in 1 or 2 players who he knew from the lower leagues, and it's just the way he has transformed the club.
Pre-season, Saints fans got a taste of things to come as the SPL champions Rangers visited Love Street. The Buddies held on to the 78th minute when Rod Wallace broke into the box. Then, the hammer came down. But the Buddies didn't buckle. With 7 minutes to go, a slack clearance by Rangers keeper Lionel Charbonnier was picked up by Junior Mendes on the edge of the box. He fed to substitute Stephen McGarry, and the youngster finished like a veteran. With 2 minutes to go, Saints had the Rangers defence at 6s and 7s when Charbonnier again blundered when he let the ball squirm from his grasp. When it was eventually fed back in, Gabriel Amato inexplicably handled in the box, and the ref had no hesitation in awarding the penalty. Up stepped McGarry, and the Saints had recorded a memorable victory.
You don't want to get too carried away with a pre-season result, but certainly we took a lot of pleasure at beating Rangers. Obviously they had a multi-million-pound team on the park, and I think not just the fact it was the result, but it was the manner in which we achieved the result. We actually lost a goal with about 15 minutes to go, and I'd said to my assistant manager at the time that I was really disappointed because the players had played well and it looked like we were going to take nothing out of the game. But the last 15 minutes we managed to score 2 goals and get the victory. And yeah, we were delighted, but it was still tinged with caution that pre-season can sometimes be very misleading. Sometimes you can have a tremendous pre-season and have a really bad start to the season. So still at that time, you know, we were just guarded optimism.
And so to the season proper. Saints began well, dominating the first half, but were unable to press the advantage home. 3 minutes after the interval, ex-Saint Alex Bone gave the visitors the lead. Just 20 minutes later, after a surging run from Ian Nicholson, Tom Brown finished from 20 yards, and despite a valiant effort from Norwegian international Thomas Gill, Saints earned their first point of the season. Well, I certainly enjoyed it anyway. And despite 2 drop points, the performance was well received. The following week, St Mirren journeyed to Kirkcaldy to face Raith Rovers, with prodigal son Barry Lavetti returning to league duty for Saints. Basher began to threaten early when he hit the post after 9 minutes. Very soon though, he was back doing what he does best. From there, it rained goals at Starks Park. For those who travelled Kirkcaldy, it was manna from heaven, though not everybody made it through.
Unfortunately, George Campbell and I were both at a wedding of a very good friend of ours, ardent St Mirren supporter, I have to say, and we were in touch all day with mobile phones. And I think people round about us actually thought that they were actually winding us up as another 3 or 4 minutes went by and another call came through. It's 2-0, it's 3-0, it's 4-0. It was a magnificent day, but just unfortunately we weren't there to savour it.
Saints' joy after the Wraith win was tempered midway through the first half against Inverness when the highly influential Chris Kerr was lost for the rest of the season with knee ligament damage after a hefty challenge. The strong team spirit that was to be so prevalent throughout the season emerged, and Saints ground out a 3-2 win. The 3 goals from McGarry, Walker and Yardley hardly reflected Saints' dominance of the game. Still, it was another 3 points. Next week, they racked up the same scoreline against a struggling Clydebank. Brace from Barry Lavetti and a screamer from Tom Brown capped another fine performance. Clearly, the pace and excitement of the game was all too much for Tommy Turner. With 3 wins after 4 games, expectation was high when Airdrie visited the next week. The fans were not to be disappointed. With St Mirren now the top scorers in Britain, fans both young and old were beginning to get a little delirious. The following week saw the long-awaited clash with closest rivals Dunfermline at East End Park. A crowd of just over 6,000 saw Saints dominate throughout. Every player played their part, none more so than Junior Mendes, who was on fire. After 33 minutes, he sprinted down the left, waltzed past Brian Reid, and when his low cross came in, Tom Brown was there to clip the ball home. 1-0 Saints, and no more than they deserved. But just before half-time, against the run of play, the Pars pulled level when Richard Huxford smacked home the equaliser. Try as they might during the second half, Saints were unable to find the winning goal and had to settle for a 1-1 draw. Dunfermline fans were unhappy at dropping 2 points. Buddies, however, were delighted at their team's performance. What did the gaffer think?
We played as well as we could play. I mean, we did everything but score goals. Every player did their bit for the side, and it was just disappointing that we lost a goal just on the stroke of half time. And I felt that could have been a major turning point. But to be fair to our boys, in the second half, they came out, and as you say, we dominated the second half. Created a catalogue of chances, and we just couldn't get the ball in the net, and that was it.
Just in case anyone was unsure, Paisley Panda was there to remind everyone just who was leading the league when Morton came to Love Street for the first Renfrewshire derby of the season. The 3-2 win was met by the euphoria that normally accompanies a victory over the arch rivals, as the Saints' goal machine was in danger of going into overdrive. Next week, however, the machine broke down as Saints dropped 3 points against Falkirk. The Bairns scored 3 in 26 minutes. Pick of them, this one from John Henry. For the first time in the league, St Mirren fans experienced defeat. Saints' next challengers were Livingston at Love Street for their first ever league meeting. And it was the visitors who drew first blood, Jerry Britton heading home this rebound. But it was Basher to the rescue after 51 minutes, when he poked home this blocked Baltacha drive from 8 yards. With 4 minutes to go and Saints chasing the winner, Tom Brown was poleaxed in the box. The referee immediately pointed to the spot. Brown elected to take the kick himself, but keeper Ian McAlden was equal to the task and the ball was scrambled clear. 1-1 finished. So, a blistering start to the season, and at the end of the first quarter, St Mirren sat on top of the league with 18 points, 2 points clear of Dunfermline, who had a game in hand. The next home game, though, was Wraith, and after hammering them 6-0 on week 2, confidence was high. But there was to be no repeat of the shellacking handed out at Starks Park 10 weeks previously. Saints were made to fight all the way in this one. They opened the scoring in 37 minutes when an Ian Nicholson cross was glanced home at the near post by Barry Lavetti, his 6th goal in 9 starts. Heading towards the interval, Saints let Wraith back into the game when Ludovic Roy was adjudged to have wrestled Stephen Craig to the ground. Kenny Black hammered home the spot kick to level the scores. Early in the second half, though, Saints forged ahead once more when big Mark Yardley flicked in yet another inch-perfect cross from Nicholson. But Wraith kept plugging away. In 10 minutes from time, a speculative Kenny Black lob was met by Jay Steen on the volley, and his shot had just enough power to beat Roy and square the match. And that seemed to be it until, in the dying seconds, yet another Nicholson cross found the unlikely head of skipper Tom Turner, and his unorthodox header found the net and secured all 3 points. Even he couldn't hide his surprise.
I thought I was actually going to get the goalkeeper was going to come out and clatter me. You know, I just went up and I think I shut my eyes and I just let it come off the top of my head, glanced it round, and the next minute as I turned, my momentum came around there and I just seen it sailing into the back of the net.
For the next 8 weeks, Tom Henry's black and white army went on the rampage. St Mirren's fourth goal at Capello probably best illustrated the effort and determination Saints players were willing to expend for the cause. Heading clear a Morton corner in his own box, big Scott Walker then charged upfield and took a return pass from Mark Yardley. He then laid it off to Hugh Murray, beelined for the penalty box and finished a 90-yard gallop upfield to head home one of the most thrilling and well-received goals of the season. Quite magnificent. And the Saints marched on. The trip to Inverness, however, brought Saints' winning streak to a halt, Mark Yardley scoring his 13th goal of the season in a 1-1 draw. At the halfway stage, St Mirren were on top, 6 points clear of Dunfermline. They just won 8 games on the trot, a club record, followed by a draw against Inverness Cali. Championship form, surely. The manager must have been happy.
Well, we started to believe that we had a real chance. I mean, the more we played, the more we won, the more we kept the run going, and the longer that happened, the more you start believing that there's a real chance here. We knew we had a small squad. We knew that suspensions and injuries could perhaps wreck their hopes, and we also were playing a lot of good football at the time. But the parks were conducive to that. There were good surfaces. We were knocking the ball about well. We were scoring goals freely. But we knew also there had to be the bad times when you had to roll up your sleeves and put in some gritty performances when the surfaces and the overhead conditions would not allow for good football. So there were still many questions to be answered. We were optimistic, but we still didn't feel at that time that the First Division Championship was ours. We knew there was a long way to go, and we knew there was many hurdles for us to cross. But certainly that run, these 9 games, and then the draw up at Inverness, definitely we begin to think that, listen, not only can we go up, we could perhaps go up as champions.
A look at the league table at halfway stage probably had some bookmakers a bit nervous, but if they were, then Saints' form in the third quarter of the season perhaps had them nodding smugly and quietly thinking, told you. With Ludo out with a groin injury, Derek Scrimgeour took over in goal when Ayr came to Paisley on December the 18th. The visitors shocked home fans when Neil Tarrant took advantage of a Tommy Turner slip and crossed for Rory Grant to shoot the visitors ahead. Saints equalised in the 48th minute when a Nicholson corner was flicked on by Yardley and Barry Lavetti headed in at the back post. More like it. But with 2 minutes to go, United stunned the home support with a sucker punch. Neil Tarrant outstripped Barry McLaughlin and fired past the hesitant Derek Scrimgeour to inflict Saints' first home defeat of the season. The big Boxing Day clash at Dunfermline was postponed due to a flu epidemic in the Saints camp. So on January the 3rd, Morton were St Mirren's first foots at Love Street. But the traditional Paisley hospitality was not in evidence, as in 48 minutes Mark Yardley latched on to a Scott Walker header and Saints said, "Happy New Millennium." But in 67 minutes, Morton equalised through an on-loan Paul Hartley, who drilled home a free kick from 25 yards. Saints pressed hard for a winner, but veteran keeper Ali Maxwell was in top form. In 86 minutes, he denied Sergei Baltacha with this fingertip save. 2 minutes later, he foiled Mark Yardley with a fine block. Final score, 1-1. 5 days later though, and Saints were back to their winning ways, with Junior Mendes picking on Airdrie once again. Stephen McGarry clinched the victory with a third, and the happy Saints fans left the Love Street end knowing that they wouldn't be standing there for much longer. Chairman Stuart Gilmer had to make a stand.
Well, we had a long chat with Tom about that, and we obviously had to stress all the way through, as we knew that we had to put the stand in place. We were very fortunate that we got the last of the grant money. We were also fortunate that we were able to bring a new director on the board. We also got the support of the fans. I have to mention the raffle, which was run by the fans, was a magnificent effort, and I think brought the fans closer again to the club and realising they were a major part of that.
Late January, early February was a bleak midwinter for the Buddies. A couple of 2-0 defeats to Falkirk and Livingston saw Saints level on points with Dunfermline. The visit of Inverness Cally was seen as a must-win game. The boys duly responded, and Mark Yardley, who else, opened the scoring in 23 minutes. Midway through the second half, Gary Bowman scored his first goal in the black and white, and Saints stretched their lead at the top to 2 points, Dunfermline having drawn 1-1 at home to Morton. On February the 19th, with both teams out of the Cup, Dunfermline and Saints played their postponed Boxing Day showdown at East End Park, and in total contrast to their first meeting, it was Saints who rode their luck to come away with a point. The St Mirren goalmouth led a charmed life that day, with Ludovic Roy proving to be one of the best keepers in the country with a string of fine saves. His display of bravery and agility kept Dunfermline at bay until the stroke of half-time. Stuart Petrie picked up the ball some 40 yards from goal, and with the Saints defence backing off, he unleashed a 35-yard scorcher to give the Pars a deserved, and pressure at least, 1-0 half-time lead. The second half continued much the same as the first, with Big Ludo the outstanding player afield. With the Pars looking to put the game away, this double save midway through the second half kept Saints in it and gave them hope that they could salvage something from the match. A something that didn't seem likely when Saints had skipper Tom Turner red-carded after an hour. But with 10 minutes left, they managed just that. Ian Ross centred, and Ian Nicholson rose to bullet home an unlikely equaliser, which sent the Saints fans nuts. Ludovic Roy was the hero of the hour, and manager Tom Henry was cautiously optimistic.
We've played today. East End Park's never an easy place to come in and win. That's us now had 2 draws and a win against Dunfermline. We've got difficult games coming up. This is an incredibly important time in the season, and if we can win our game next week and we can look at the rest of the results, who then knows. But we're now in a countdown stage. We're nearly at the last 10, and I've said before, if we can go to 9 games left with a 5-point lead, we'll be very hard to catch.
The next week, Saints were back in Fife, this time against Wraith. It was stalemate for 85 minutes, then the home side took the lead after a near-post strike from Paul Tosh. A year ago, heads might have gone down, but this was a side with a new sense of spirit and determination, and Mark Yardley showed resilience and power to earn the equaliser. Many thought that would be that, but Hugh Murray and Junior Mendes had other ideas. I think we can safely say that everyone was fairly happy about that goal. Late into injury time, Wraith pushed for the equaliser, but once again, Ludo was in the right place at the right time. When the final whistle blew, 3 huge points had been gained and 1 very significant point had been made.
I think the game at Wraith Rovers summed it all up. We were a goal down against 10 men with 5 minutes to go, and everybody must have thought it's going to collapse. We went on, we scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes, and I think there was a right belief after that game that maybe this was going to be our year and we could go on to win it. And I think for myself personally, that's the game that sticks out most for me.
The following week though, it was back to earth with a bang when the Pars came to Paisley. Stevie Crawford scored 2 belters, which created a league position which did not make good reading for Saints fans. At a crucial point in the season, Saints fell back to 2nd place. Was the bubble about to burst?
Well, the pressure was building every game, and every game we played was becoming more important than the last one. Dunfermline, to be fair, kept the pressure on us because they kept winning, and every team, the kudos of beating the league leaders meant that we had 10 cup finals to play. But as I said, the players showed remarkable resilience, and a few times we got late winners to win games, but that was just the character of the team. They just refused to sit back and accept a draw, and we pushed forward on many occasions, and I think justifiably scored a few late goals just simply because of the attitude of the players.
When Clydebank came visiting, the attitude of the players was never in doubt. good day at the office. 8-0 to Saints, 8 games to go. Next up, Morton at Greenock. Clinical stuff. Morton brushed aside by 2-0. Next week, it was back to Capello, this time to face Clyde Bank, but someone forgot to pack the stripes and Saints were forced to wear Morton tops. They did everything but score, and 2 vital points were dropped. With injuries and suspensions kicking in, it was time to strengthen the squad.
On the playing front, we were scared at that point. We looked at 1 or 2 players and we just weren't sure. We weren't sure they were any better than what we had, and that's certainly been the policy. And it wasn't until getting closer to the March deadline when we decided that just to help us get over the line, we'd bring in a couple of players. And we brought in Paul McKnight from Rangers, we brought in Ricky Gillis on loan from Aberdeen, and we brought in Jens Paislak from Karlsruhe on a short-term contract. So it worked out quite well in the end.
But it was another new acquisition, veteran defender Joe McLaughlin, who scored what turned out to be the only goal in a hard-fought match away to Airdrie. Jens Paislak came on in the second half and quickly showed fans his strength with this powerful effort on goal. It wasn't to be, but another 3 points were earned in the run-in to the title. In front of almost 7,000 supporters the following week, Saints entertained Falkirk. As ever, it was a hard-fought encounter as St Mirren pushed for the opener. This well-worked move from Mendes and Brown ended safely in the hands of keeper Miles Hogarth. He was again called into action after this stinging effort from Tommy Turner. With 3 minutes to go and the crowd getting anxious, Saints broke out of defence and swept upfield with this breathtaking move. It was new boy Paul McKnight who showed a cool head to take Saints 1 step closer to the title. A class piece of finishing from the young Irishman. With the league campaign drawing to a close, the tension mounted with every game as Dunfermline's form matched that of St Mirren. The next game was away to Livingston. In 23 minutes, Stephen McGarry showed maturity beyond his years, lobbing Ian McAlden to send the visiting support into a frenzy. But on the hour mark, David Bingham silenced the travelling buddies as he flicked home a Brian McPhee cross to level the scores. But after constant probing, the Paisley men got the vital breakthrough when Mark Yardley scored following this goal-mouth scramble. Not goal of the season, but 3 points nonetheless. And the relief amongst the players and fans was there for all to see. The championship was within touching distance. With 3 games to go, St Mirren travelled to Somerset Park with a real chance of winning the league title. Only 4 minutes into the second half, Junior Mendes showed the air defence a clean pair of heels. He fired home to put Saints ahead. A minute later, influential skipper Tommy Turner limped off to be replaced by the hero from the Falkirk game, Paul McKnight. Turner's removal obviously caused some instability in defence, and Ayr were able to equalise with a David Craig drive. From then on, St Mirren's attacks on the Ayr goal were relentless, with Mendes the tormentor-in-chief as he once again came close with this flashing drive. But it was the home side who went closest with this 45-yard effort in the 89th minute. Ludo to the rescue once more. It looked like 1 point was all St Mirren were going to earn from this encounter, but in the 94th minute, urged on by vocal support, Saints launched one last gasp effort to try and snatch the game. What followed was the stuff of dreams. Paul McKnight had done it again. They'd won the points, but had they won the league?
I'd actually been told Dunfermline were drawn at the time, which means we just needed to win, and that would have been the championship. There was a lot of supporters behind saying it was now 2 each, which we couldn't believe because Dunfermline were in 2-0 at half-time. So when Paul McKnight actually scored, I think everybody thought we had actually won the league, and it wasn't until we came off and Matt Kerr actually told us, no, Dunfermline won 2-1. So there was a bit of disappointment when we came into the changing room. You know, the gaffer came in and said, we're still promoted, but it was still a bit deflated, and we thought, oh God, I thought we had won the league, but it wasn't to be, and fortunate enough 7 days later it was to be, and we got the right result.
With 2 games to go, Saints were in the driving seat, but not yet over the line. No one was taking anything for granted, but confidence was high in the St Mirren camp. Could they do it? The gaffer thought so.
There was a huge relief and a huge pressure off the players because they knew that their future was secure in terms of St Mirren were now going to develop into a Premier League club, and we're going to have something to look forward to. So from that point of view, there was a lot of pressure taken off the players, and the players also knew that they had one big performance left in them. They had to go out and win at home in front of a packed crowd, and you know, I think the stage was all set. We'd opened the stand that day. You know, the fans had come out in force, and I don't think the players, to a man, I think everyone went out in the park expecting to win. I think they knew that it was just our day, it was our season, and they knew they had one big home performance left in them.
April the 29th, 2000, and down Love Street Way, it was Mardi Gras, Carnival and New Year's Eve all rolled into one. It had been a long, hard season, and the Paisley Buddies felt a party coming on. But first, there was a job to be done, and everyone was determined to do their bit to make it happen.
The fans have been incredible this year. They probably don't realise how important they've been for the team. We've played a lot of games and we've been struggling in a few of the games, but the support they've had is incredible. We've been to games, particularly away from home, where the fans have been unbelievable. We've been, as I said, struggling. The support they give the team is like an extra man. I know it's a cliche, but as an extra man for the team. And no one knows how more important they are than myself. They're brilliant.
With the stadium in party mood, there were, however, some formalities to be attended to. Lord McFarlane, accompanied by Provost McDowell and Chairman Stuart Gilmer, formed the official party that was to open the brand new Paisley Daily Express stand. St Mirren Park was now ready for the SPL. Were the boys in black and white? The fans certainly were. But things didn't go immediately to plan.
We settled down really well, but to be honest, we played quite disappointing in the first half. Wraith Rovers had a couple of chances and we managed to keep them out.
Nervy would be perhaps a good word to describe the first half performance, and manager Tom Henry was not best pleased thus far.
During the game, first half, we put on a bit of pressure with the race players, and we thought, is this going to happen for us? I think the players in the back of their minds, we had to travel up to Inverness and go back up there, which we never won, we never done well up there. And probably half time, a lot of the boys were thinking, is this going to happen for us? Went into second half and just everything changed.
It didn't have. With the third goal from Player of the Year Barry McLaughlin, all the tension of a long, hard season finally slipped away.
We always felt if we could get one, then that would change the complexion of the game, that Wraith would then have to open out and come out a little bit more of us. And that's what happened. We scored one, and within 7 minutes we scored another two, and the championship was ours.
For the first time in 23 years, St Mirren were First Division champions, and well worthy.
It means everything. You know, we've led from the start of the division. You know, everyone wrote us off and said we'd never stay there. You know, I said the bubble would burst, but it didn't burst, and we kept going. And to win 3-0 in the final game in front of your home fans, well, this will be a memory I'll remember the rest of my life.
The same certainly applies to the occupants of the stands and to the victorious team as they re-emerge to milk the applause, take the honours and send out a clear message to the football world at large. For many, it was a realisation of a lifetime dream, and emotions ran high.
Everything you'd hoped it would be. Prepared by the brilliant packed stadium. 14 years I've waited to pick up the league championship, and I'm just delighted for all the boys and all the fans here.
Highlight your career, Tommy?
Yes, highlight my career, especially at this age. 36 year old, you know, superb, can't beat it.
For the fans, they've been brilliant all year, and I'm just happy for the gaffer as well. He's come, he's given up his job to be full time, and he's done brilliant for the lads. I'm really happy for him.
This is an unbelievable day. This is the best day of my career without a doubt. These fans have suffered so much the last 6-7 years. The club's had a lot of debt. There's so much hardship. I'm just happy for all the fans that are here and hope they enjoy their night. Enjoy it half as much as myself. A good night.
Victory was sweet too for unsung hero, assistant manager John Coughlin.
Absolutely fabulous. Again, as I say, I'm not looking for headlines. It was a case of let the players go out and enjoy the day. I felt myself it was probably the greatest day I've had in football, and probably will be in football. It was just a really superb day. To see the supporters and the way what it meant to them was absolutely fabulous.
I can certainly vouch for that. And for fans like these, starved of success for so long, it was doubly sweet, as it was for chairman Stuart Gilmer.
No, it was wonderful. Myself, I was in party mode, I think, for weeks on the back of it. And I think the day that really came home to me was the day we had the open top bus round to the town hall and the civic reception, and it was looking at the people in the streets of Paisley that day, the happiness, the joy it had brought to people at a time when Paisley needed that. I'm delighted to say that we at St Mirren Football Club were able to give them that day.
Amazing day, it was a glorious day, thousands of people on the streets, so many smiling, happy faces. It was a great occasion, and it will definitely live with me for the rest of my life, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That day was incredible. It was just like being back in 1987 when we won the Scottish Cup. It's a very similar experience, but a lot of people said to me this was a greater day because it was culminating over the whole season, whereas the Scottish Cup was maybe 5 or 6 games. But it's definitely something I'll not forget.
And neither will the thousands who gathered outside the town hall that day as Paisley was transformed into one huge street party. At the final reckoning, one of the most unfancied teams at the start of the season emerged supreme. The bookies had been proved wrong, and history had been made. A lot of things have happened at this proud club since its inception way back in 1877. There's been some good seasons, some not so good seasons, some memorable seasons, and some fairly forgettable ones too. But one thing is absolutely for sure. 1999-2000 is the season that will be remembered for a long time as the one when the bubble didn't burst and the Saints were back.